Fix the hair. Perfect.
Dance, sister. Smile, sister. Laugh, sister. Cry, sister.
Alrighty, hello babies. It is Nisa, also known on this platform as Raincheck, and today I'm coming to you with a topic that is, well, seasonally relevant, at least. I don't know, I actually don't know, I haven't checked in a while, who the majority of my viewers' age ranges is, but if you're my age, I'm 20 or around there, collegiate age, like still at the age where you go home for the holidays because you haven't started your own family. And this is about that time that we talk about dealing with toxic people. Yeah, I think so. Okay. So today I have 3 tips, well, 3-ish, like including elaborations, that I want to tell to you guys today. For anyone nervous about going home, dealing with family, or people in general who may not respect your boundaries or not as educated about your identity or issues that matter to you in general. How do you survive that is basically the question I'm going to try to answer today. Mind you, I am not God, I am not a doctor, I'm not, a professional, but these are things that I feel like have been a huge support to me and people that I know. These are tips from my friends, from my mentors about how you can make this a smoother experience, and just things you should be thinking about in general when it comes to entering a space that isn't your comfort zone. So my first and most tangible, I would say, tip is to mobilize your self-care. A lot of us have self-care routines that, may involve skincare or baking maybe, or taking a bath, all things that are great, and still like useful, I want to say, valid, helpful when you're trying to deal with difficult moments in your life, but those are not always things that you can take with you. Maybe if it's not your kitchen, you don't have your baking ingredients, how are you gonna bake? Maybe if it's not your bathroom, do you feel as comfortable taking a bath, or someone else washes their body? Do they pee in the shower? Do you know? You know what I'm saying? Like skincare, like especially when you're traveling. If you're taking a plane, I know a lot of people are driving places, so you might be able to take more with you, but even if you're taking a plane during COVID times, like you can't take everything with you. So how do you practice self-care when you're in an environment that isn't quote unquote home, or like your familiar space where you had everything and all those resources? Well, you have to mobilize your self-care. So some tips I have, actually some of them are things I should get and show you, but I'll start with the ones that, you don't need that. The first thing is online therapy. I don't have a video, actually. I need to make that video. But I started therapy this summer. I had a conversation with you guys about, it was sort of that video. It was about, I'll link it in the eye. I think it's going to be on the side. It was about self-care being more than just a face mask, like other avenues to dive into if you want to invest in your self-care, and one thing I talked about was therapy. So at that point I hadn't started therapy, but I don't want to be a hypocrite, if I'm going to tell you guys to do something, I should be doing it. So I started therapy in, I want to say early June, and with COVID times, it's not somewhere I go in person. It's usually like at home after work, log on, and here I am in therapy. What I love about online / telehealth, like virtual, therapy or doctor's appointments in general, is that you can take that with you anywhere. My therapist is based in Massachusetts because that's where I am for school and living, but I started therapy when I was back home in Florida. So if I'm going back to Florida, if I'm going to New York, whatever, for the holidays, I can take my laptop with me, have my weekly appointments, you know what I'm saying? So that way you can still find coping methods and you're still taking time to prioritize yourself and like talk through issues that you're going through, and talking through issues as you're going through them in a way that's very easily accessible. So that's one. Another one that I recommend is aromatherapy. So this is something that like I haven't like been huge on. Well, it's not that I'm not like a big fan of it, but it's that like I don't talk about it a lot or reference a lot even in my own life, where I don't even acknowledge it as like a sort of therapy. It's just like, oh, I have my little, humidifier, put some essential oils, boom, boom, smells nice, you know what I'm saying? But it actually is an amazing and like very portable way to calm yourself if you experience things like anxiety, panic attacks, depression. Like, just, it's a good way to recenter, like in general. So my friend for I want to say my birthday last year, she sent me this package. One of my best friends, Mo. If you're Mo / if you're seeing this, Mo, thank you, girl. But yeah, she sent me this package that had like a whole aromatherapy set, and something I carry with me in my backpack to work, on vacations, probably to sleep, you know, every day, is this little aromatherapy oil. It smells so yummy. It's like chamomile, and I'll just rub it on my wrist. It's like, it comes in a little like ball form. But even essential oil, you drop some in your hand, like 2 drops, tap it. Well, not that quick. You're taking like deep breaths in, deep breaths out, and it's super therapeutic. So if you're feeling stressed, or you're feeling annoyed, or just any extreme emotion that's negative, highly recommend it. It doesn't work for everyone, but I'm just giving y'all some tips and things you can, you know, try to buy before you head home, or if you're already home, you could probably order it. But yeah, what's my other tip? Yes, okay, so another one I have is making sure to always have alone time. As someone who's extroverted and has gone through the year of 2020, it wasn't always my go-to to try to spend time alone, but to be reflective, to really understand what you're going through, your emotions, how you're feeling, to be able to process things so that way you can move past those thoughts and those feelings, you need to spend time alone. And that's something I've been talking to my therapist about that I think is really valuable, because it's something I struggled with. But now, like, I know what I need when I need it, and if I need some alone time, I'm gonna go. Now, that's a little bit difficult when you're in a space you're not familiar with, / you know, with family or friends that's not in your usual, you know, environment, because where do you go to spend alone time? Maybe where you're going, you don't have your own room, or you don't have like a little meditative like area that you might have designed in your own living space, but there's other ways to do that. So you can go on walks. I know it's cold, but bundle up, get a coat, get a scarf, get some gloves, and go and take your ass on a walk. Sometimes it helps to just feel some wind on your face, something that's not inside air, and to take time to think and move your body, which is super therapeutic. It doesn't have to be sprinting, it doesn't have to be a HIIT workout, but just to move and to get the blood flowing is always a super healthy thing for your mental health and your physical health, obviously. With, you know, restriction, don't walk 10 miles every time you need to think, like, with balance, you know. Walking really helps. Journaling is another way where, although it's not mobile, it's still I guess like a mental, like alone space, mental time that you could take with yourself to process how you're feeling, and it doesn't have to be out loud. I know something for me is like, you know, in my apartment where I'm at now, yes, I have roommates, but like the walls aren't as thin, you know, or even if it is thin, like my roommates don't really care what I'm saying. I'm not saying anything weird, but like with my parents when I was living back home, I'd want to call my grandma or my friend or whoever I wanted to vent to about the fuck shit my parents were doing, and they could hear everything I'm saying, like even trying to put a towel under the door, like they can hear me, you know what I'm saying? So it's really difficult. So if I couldn't go outside, what I'm starting to do, which is actually pretty recent for me, which I want to talk about more, but other video, is journaling. Journal your feelings. I used to think it wasn't really bad, like I want to talk to people, but journaling, for people who do find talking through their feelings helpful, it's a pretty I don't want to say valid again. I feel like I've said that word so much. It's a pretty helpful coping mechanism or method, you know what I'm saying, for extreme feelings in general. So highly recommend it. So yeah, what did I say? Journaling, aromatherapy, online actual therapy, and going for walks. That is all within the first tip of mobilizing your self-care. So important. Okay. Keep going on to tip number 2, which honestly it might be the most important. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure. That's a big statement. But this is something that I think is key to having a well, as smooth of an experience as you can when you go home or to wherever you're going for the holidays that you may not feel the most comfortable with the people or the location or whatever, because this is something you need to do in preparation. Now, if you're already there, don't worry. I know a lot of people are already home. You can still take some alone time on your walk, on your journal session, and your therapy session, whatever, to think about what I'm about to say. But a tip is know your triggers. Often we recognize that, like, oh, whenever I'm around my aunt, she's always commenting on my body weight, or oh, whenever I'm around my mom, she's always stressing me out about if I'm working hard enough at school, or dad's always telling me like, oh, why am I not making money? Like you know the things like, oh, this annoys me, but we don't really take the time to pinpoint what, like the signals, like the trademarks, like the I don't have vocabulary. Let's keep with signals of like what triggers you in those conversations. Even like, not even like when the trigger starts, but like how to pinpoint, okay, when is it about to lead into that kind of conversation that I should exit myself out of. So maybe if it's about like, let's say body weight, right? Someone's shaming you on however your body is, and that's something that triggers you or causes some extreme emotions, which, you know, it should. Well, I'm not gonna encourage extreme emotions, but I'm just saying if it does, like, that's valid. Maybe start recognizing, okay, when auntie mentions, oh, that's like a large plate you made for yourself, or do you need that much? Maybe, you know, okay, I know where this is going, you know what I'm saying? And then you know, okay, now that I feel like knowing those signals also can help you feel more in control, whether it's an opportunity to like leave early from that conversation or be short-winded if possible and like cut it short, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's an opportunity to, right as it begins, communicate that you're not comfortable diving into that, if that's something you feel okay with, or if it's literally just like creating a distraction and walking away. Another, like a sub tip I have in that is like, you know, even if it's creating like a code word with a friend from, you know, wherever your comfort zone is, back where you usually stay, if you text them lemons, apricots, you know, and that means please call me and tell me, pretend you're crying and like that we need to talk right now so I can get you out of the situation. Have that. It's okay to have a partner who can help you through this. You don't have to do it alone. And for people where maybe your triggers aren't as personal, like it's not about your own body or your own like identity, and maybe you're someone who really supports certain issues that are outside of your own intersections and margins, like also realize, and this may be controversial, I'm about to say, I don't know, but I think that we shouldn't force ourselves to soldier through every microaggression our family may throw out. You know what I'm saying? Now, it is important to be an ally, and it is important to be a constant advocate, not just in front of the people's faces who are marginalized, but when they're not around, you're still sticking up for them. That is important work. It's work we should dedicate ourselves to, but also, not everyone is high functioning. You know, like if your mental health is not where it needs to be and you're stressed and you are not as, you know, maybe skilled in having those conversations where you can like, or debating in that way, and talking too fast, with such intense topics. Sometimes you just got to take a step back, because if you're crying and now you're all over the place, that's not really helping the margins you're trying to help. That's just making you feel horrible. It's not helping the people you're trying to make understand the point, understand it any better. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes it's even more beneficial just to take care of you, take that step back, maybe prep with people who are more educated on those topics or activism in general. Like, how do I have this difficult conversation with my family? What is enough to say? Where can I leave it? Where, like, let's put a pin in this. We can talk about this later. Continue the discussion so that way you give your opportunity. She does not know English today. What's going on? So that way you give yourself the opportunity to take that step back, better prepare, take a breather, do those little self-care, you know, mobilize self-care things. So that way you can just still be at peace. Like, the holidays are not supposed to be a source of stress, and so much people associate it with that and just think that's normal. That should not be normal. You know what I'm saying? Like, communicate your boundaries. If you don't want to talk about that right now, I don't want to talk about that. I don't feel comfortable having this conversation with you. You know what I'm saying? Or, I'd love to talk with you more about this, but let's pause on that for now and just like enjoy the night. You know what I'm saying? No, it's difficult sometimes. I'm not saying this is what you have to do, but just, again, for people who don't maybe have the best emotional reflexes when you're having those difficult conversations that have to do with you or with a margin that you care about. I mean, which should be all margins. But, you know, sometimes you just have to know when you need to take a step back, and you don't have to be a soldier and warrior through all these tough conversations. Sometimes drink your tea, mind your beeswax, you know, and get through the night. That's really what it's about here. My last tip, which I'm gonna be real with you, may not be something y'all want to hear, but I'm gonna say it because I care about you and you gotta know the truth, okay? before even entering this unfamiliar space for the holiday, I never know how to term it. Do I say home? Do I say like with your folks? Maybe sometimes it's not people's parents, you know, guardians, friends, whatever. We'll just say this unfamiliar space. Okay. When entering these unfamiliar spaces, a lot of time, most of the hype comes from our own anxiety about previous experiences or like the worst case scenario of how it could be. And we're not always being realistic about what we're actually about to encounter. Hear me out. Hear me out. Don't yell. Hear me out. Okay. Let me ask you a couple questions first, okay? Are the things that you're feeling nervous about encountering something that has already been talked about and changed / can change with proper communication and maybe your triggers or your boundaries? Would your people be receptive to that? Right now, again, I'm not saying be optimistic, oh, like anyone can change. No, be realistic. Just don't be pessimistic. If you realize, you know, I've already had these conversations with them, they're very defiant, they're not willing to hear me out and understand where I'm coming from, boom, you already have that question answered. You know, okay, I know what I'm walking into and I know what the problems I'm going to face because I've experienced this and I've tried to change it and it can't change, or rather hasn't changed, right? But ask yourself that question, because sometimes something you've experienced in the past, like I feel like, I don't want to just say in 2020, but like life in general is full of growth, even from older people more set in their ways. I think people are starting to, or hopefully, not everybody, is starting to realize that like you can't, like if you love someone, hopefully whoever you're going to for the holidays, people who ideally have the best intentions for you, even if they're uneducated or ignorant about the ways they try to express that, you know what I'm saying? So like if they want to have a relationship with you, they should understand what you care about. And if that's something that you have the privilege and opportunity to be able to communicate, boom, you know what I'm saying? Like if you don't, then you know that, but that's a question you should be asking yourself first. Like have I taken the time, is what I was gonna say, to fully think about the situation I'm walking into presently, not what's happened, not what might happen, but what actually is realistic to what I'm about to encounter. Super important. Again, I mentioned at the beginning of this tip, like, is your anxiety maybe a source of all the tension you're feeling of going into the situation? Like, especially with social media and seeing all the hate that exists in the world in general. Sometimes it's not even your own family that perpetuates that, but just seeing it so much just makes you anxious about leaving a space you're familiar with, which may be home by yourself or like with your roommates, you know what I'm saying, or with your more immediate family who already knows those boundaries of yours. Sometimes just walking out into the world in general just gives us a bad feeling, and that's understandable and valid, but it's just important to reflect on beforehand, because if you look at it from this more bigger picture like mentality of like, okay, this is what I'm feeling, this is why I'm feeling it, let me process these thoughts, let me experience them and let them pass and understand what the reality, well, not that that's not reality, like your anxiety is your reality, but because, you know, I experience anxiety sometimes, and I'm just saying, like, I realize, like, okay, the things I'm feeling anxious about or that are quote unquote causing my anxiety are things that are not always what's right in front of me or what's actually about to happen. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm explaining this so bad. It's hard to describe anxiety in general, especially as someone who experiences it, because it's like, it's so confusing trying to like pinpoint where and why and how, you know what I'm saying? But just think about that in general. I guess what I'm trying to say is self-reflect on like where these negative thoughts are coming from and see if that's something that could be switched or prevented. If not, because your anxiety is coming from experience and traumas that are valid based on the situation you're walking into, understandable, you know what I'm saying? And then use those self-care resources, or just determine, okay, maybe this isn't the best situation for me to walk into. Maybe it's more healthy for me and accessible for my mental health to stay home or stay wherever I am instead of going home for the holidays. Maybe spend it with a friend, maybe do something virtual, you know what I'm saying, instead of actually going. And that's something you have to determine, like I said, realistic, not pessimistic. Lastly, just think about the things that you can control. Like I don't know if that's the best tip for everyone, but I know for me, like especially doing therapy, I realize that I'm someone who likes to be in control of a lot of things, a lot of situations, and it stresses me the fuck out when I'm not, to be quite honest with you. So with that being said, I found it really helpful to think about the things I can control. Can I control the things that I bring with me to, you know, prioritize my self-care while I'm there? Can I control the ways that I prepare to, you know, rest and nourish my joy during stressful situations? Can I control how long I stay? You know, even like, okay, am I staying 2 days or 2 weeks? You know, how much can I handle? Do I have control over those things? Like, those are things that can help you feel in control when you're in a situation that's not entirely in your control, which is to say, like, when you're outside of your zone of familiarity, like, what things can you still keep familiar around you and about you, if that makes sense. All that to say, I hope you guys have a healthy and happy holiday season. That was so off key, but don't mind me. Anyway, yeah, thrive, flourish, enjoy the holiday, and I'm so excited to end this trash ass year. Can we talk about it? Can we talk about it? Like, not that too much is gonna change, but just in general, it's nice to feel refreshed, renewed, all that good stuff. So yeah, enjoy, and hopefully you can practice the tips that I mentioned. Hopefully they're helpful. Comment which tip seemed most helpful to you, one that you plan on using, and or a tip that maybe I didn't mention that has really helped you throughout stressful times during the holidays or being in an unfamiliar environment. So, I mean, I always mention my slay at the end of each video, but I feel like I'm gonna give y'all much today, like a little bit of makeup. I don't know if y'all can see, but you know, just a black top, just a basic move, basic fit, you know what I'm saying? But she's coming for you in the new year, okay? She's coming for you. So, I will see you guys. Happy holidays.